Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So, what I would like to talk, maybe like when we are sitting here and we have got this opportunity after a while to talk.
Yeah.
What is somatic? Somatics. What is? Well, sometimes people call it somatics, somatic, and sometimes somatic movement thing. And there is some kind of confusion, right, in the world. Sometimes when we say something, I do somatics or I'm going to do somatic movement. What is it? And I would like to ask you, could you define it for yourself, for me, for others? What is
Yeah.
what is it? What does it mean for you?
I think one thing is what does it mean for me, but I think we need to agree on the definition we give. And somatic is a word that includes soma, which is a Greek word for the inner aspect of the body. So it's not the outside shape of the body. It just the soma is the body as a phenomenon, as a where things take place. So it's a different view. That's why we don't say body; we say soma. So it's the inner part, and what we call like somatic cells. That where the word somatic came in are basically the cells that are part of the muscles, connective tissues. And it's all the cells that are not organic, that are specifically that they are just part of the meso. You would say the meso of the body, which is the inner structure of the body. So it's not the organs, not the neurons, not the very specific cells, but they are the fabric. And so somatic movement has movement in it, so it means it encompass all the practices or approach, maybe exercise that involve an inner perspective. So I'm not doing an exercise just to fit an instruction or something external. I'm really living and experiencing this exercise from inside.
So
and it's in movement, right? And that's what we call more like somatic. We call it more somatic because the way we sense the movement is a primary ingredient that we want to explore. That we will change eventually the way our nervous system. From the nervous system is a system that is managing all the different function. I mean, with other different system, but when it comes to movement, the nervous system is key because that's how we can make conscious movement. So when we start to be aware of the movement we do from a sensation, then it's changing the information in the brain. It doesn't become an automatic response, it becomes more conscious, and then we can make movements that are much more effective, that are more in line with how, for instance, the vertical position, the posture, that are more efficient, that are, so that's somatic movement. And there is a huge application then because, different approach like continuum really explore the fluid component of the soma. Feldenkrais will look really very much at the how the nervous system repatterns movement. BMC will explore the experiential anatomy, so taking a system and feel it and kind of make an experience out of it. So there are many different ways to, and it's all through movement. Whereas somatic is just a perspective on the body that comes from a sensory awareness place. We can sense the inner landscape of the body. That would be my definition, and so somatic doesn't involve movement. So they are like it's usually used in therapy. Because we know now that we know we have many people who have worked for a long time on trauma and coming to the conclusion that trauma is in the memory, but it's also that memory is also in the body, in the soma.
Yeah.
It's it can be located in some places, and it can be very helpful to meet with these sensations, to find a way that they can be integrated in the whole system.
Yeah.
And of course, somatic movement will help with that very much, and probably a bit more than just somatic. But you know,
the somatic, I think, Peter Levin really popularized this word, like somatic experiencing, and many people, when they hear somatic, they relate this name with somatic experience.
Yes.
Experiencing. So, but I think somatic, is just words, but I think there's so much association with this one, right? But we need to add somatic movement when we are talking about more about continuum or Feldenkrais. It's more
absolutely.
somatics. It can be more on only sensations, to feel, to sit and feel, but movement is something else. It's creating certain opportunity to repattern certain behaviors.
Yes, but I would go even further. I mean, I not me, but Emily Conrad, the founder of Continuum, really defined us as being movement.
Yeah.
Like, so a human being is not making movement, is movement. So we are movement.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very different perspective or understanding of the human body. When you think that you are a body that makes movement, you know, so we already have a filter that just kind of product.
Yeah.
It's a production of movement.
Yeah.
But when you think like you are actually movement, so that it's just that this movement is concentrated or condensed in time and space. That's how she would define that. But it's a movement, and so basically these movements are very close to what we find when we go into quantum. They're wave motions.
Yes.
So like a kind of a densification of wave motion.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we are movement. We are a moving series of events that happens.
Yeah. I like this definition, and it creates something very different perception of us. Like, we don't do movements.
Yeah.
We are movement. I like it. And for me, the journey to meet you also was through dreams. Actually, that I had a dreams when I had a strong period of my life. I didn't sleep so much. I was dreaming a lot, and usually about 2-3 o'clock I was just kind of woke up, and I had a half awake and half dream states kind of. And I had one night it was especially strong. It was more nights, but once was very, very strong, and it was about movement. But I saw that movement. I could hear the movement talking. You know, it was kind of telepathical kind of transition. I could feel the beings behind the movement, and I received it as a kind of transition, or just like if you go to workshop, you know, but you didn't ask for that workshop, maybe not consciously, but I just received certain workshop of movement, and I went with that, and I woke up in the morning, and all right, it was nice, it was deep for me, it was interesting, but what to do with this, you know, like, and I was practicing. I was more in the yoga therapy, and it was different movement, you know. I was always interested in different movements, and since I was kid, I was dancing. I liked the electronic music and drum and bass and Chemical Brothers, Prodigy, and there's a lot of elements of different shapes, you know. And drum and bass, nobody give you anything to follow to dance. We were always dancing as we were feeling the dance. We were just few of people in the club, and we were just dancing. So I was very open to any possibilities of just go with it. What you feel. But when I stepped in the yoga field, there's so much square, you know, yoga mats and a lot of precision and alignment and everything, and this didn't match at all. This dreamlike experience didn't match at all with what I was maybe practicing or studying, and I didn't feel that for some years, being honest. I couldn't connect to that, but this is where I am, but I didn't feel it anymore. But through these dreams, I felt being more encouraged to study, to ask, what is this? And I was discussing this issue of liquidity with my friend who started to study craniosacral therapy, and he told me that maybe you could look it up. Like craniosacral, they are working with these liquid body movements. So I went to the course, I tried it, and working with the touch and liquid body, and I was just amazed. Like, yeah, this is it. This is. I like it. This is very subtle. This is very strong, and actually, that on that course, it was 5 days. I had the experience that my how does it call this place in, like, when the plates of your skull are connected. This no so the place, the bones, when they're connected on a certain place, it cracked. And it cracked like in this place, and it was just so strong that my skull did tick, and I could hear it, and I felt it for 2 months. That place, and I was just like, how this little gentle movement can do such shift in the bones, and in the structure, in the tensegrity, in the structure of that, and then. And I went deeper. I went to this dark room, and I was doing vipassana, meditating, and playing didgeridoo, and this is kind of sounding and vibration, and you can sense after playing didgeridoo, you can really sense like everything is moving inside of you, but I didn't know what is it. But later, even through holotropic breathwork, I had some liquid body experiences, some kind of embryonic, or I don't know what was it embryonic, was it cosmic, I don't know, but it was there. The breath was more fractal, I would say, more chaotic, very different than breathe in and only through the nose and four out, and it was not like that. It was very, very, very different, and through nose and mouth, and very, very chaotic, very fractal, but there was certain organization in that. And then when I saw the video of Emily Conrad, Interesting Movement, it is on YouTube, Interesting Movement, and I saw the patterns of the spine and ribs and everything, and then patterns of the belly and the chest and the diaphragm. And then when I saw that, then I know it. I know it from just my experiences, but I didn't know what does it mean. But I see it on the video from 70s, right? Almost 70s, 80s.
80s,
So it exists, and it's practice, and what is it? And then I was researching, and I could see correlation with craniosacral therapy, Bonnie Gintys, and she's osteopath, right? And so craniosacral therapy with continuum movement, with that strange thing on that video, and so I was just like really interested. I was really pulled in that, like, there is something that people are practicing this one actually for many years. It's not qigong, because I know that qigong, like martial arts, they work with this one for in practice, but apart of the qigong, apart of the martial arts, there are people who practice this one. So, and they also call it somatic movement. So, and for me, the journey began that I wrote you, and then we met, and we started this journey 7 years ago, 8 years ago, at least this 8 years ago already, and here we are still kind of trying to share it in Slovakia and Czech Republic sometimes, and still trying to define it. What is it? What is somatics? What is somatic movement? And how we could translate it. And there is this embodiment, the word which is quite popular in the West, embodiment, but it can be more, everything can be embodiment, everything can be somatic movement now. It's hard to define it. What is what? What is difference between embodiment and somatic movement? And there's a lot of confusion, and in our language we don't have this equivalence to embodiment. Is like doesn't sound the same. And somatic movement, we can translate it quite clearly, but what does it mean? So so thank you for your for your answer, that kind of clear definition of inner experience of the body.
I mean, the thing is, like the language we develop as a culture change over time. And of course, certain concepts were not part of a culture, like the way we've been living the body in the last a few hundred years or even more, didn't include particularly the the felt sensation of the body. And most probably because it was a tough life. And you're in a very strong survival mode, and so you can't really reflect on your own sensations. You don't have you have to survive, and you have to we can only do that when we have enough comfort and safety. And that's how somatic movement, I think, and somatic in general, came in again. I don't think it's the first time. I think it came in before. But when we have some kind of history of war or cataclysm or migration, many different traumatic things, you can't go there. That's not the place to go, and it's also not the place to go. Because you need to really survive and take care of yourself and just be in a mode that will be very, very about action. And somatic movement has a different, is opening a different view in the inner processes, the deeper processes that are happening inside of us. But they are very refined, and they are very subtle. And it's a lot about consciousness, because what the whole thing is awareness and consciousness. So I'm aware of my movement, I'm aware I'm living here, I'm aware I'm in this room. But how does it feel to be in this room, to be here? And that's a kind of consciousness that we start to unravel. We start to feel through consciousness. And that consciousness can be there, be more conscious when the context is allowing that. That I can be more conscious. If it's about being threatened all the time for my life, what's the point of being conscious of that? I can't. It's a very, very confusing thing for a body to do that. So it just go into another mode, which is a sympathetic activity mode, which is all about creating something. And when we have this kind of embracing the paradox workshop, which is about this principle of what we call masculine, feminine, or something, but that this action from the sympathetic system is we could relate it to these masculine principles. So to really make things to survive, make an environment that's safe enough, so that the feminine, let's say the full, when we talk about embodiment, for me, that's how am I fully present here in my body, and that's in my pelvis, the lower part of the belly, this basic container that has a very different rhythm than the action, the sympathetic circuit, and there I can really land, but I can land only when I'm not threatened by the next war. And in Europe, there was a lot of movement of war, so we don't really know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking a lot about the style of wars, like when it's different to have a nuclear war, or 100 years for World War First and Second was different, and 200 years it was different. It was different, like Vikings were fighting with brutal force, and it was effective maybe. but maybe in China or Japan, they were, in Asian countries, they were developing different styles to be present in the state of war, which was kind of constant. In Japan, it was constant. I don't know, 200 years of war between clans and everyone. So it was constantly living in sympathicus maybe, but they know it is not helpful for them, and they need to really create safe space inside of them. And what I know, they were practicing their inner peace even in the time of death, or and I think the Japan culture cultivated very strong sense of calmness in each situation. They maybe suppress their emotion a bit too hard in certain situations, maybe, but it's just confusion of they, like in Zen teachings, they were not really supposed to suppress it, but to be in touch with it, and but don't pay so much attention to emotions, maybe, and to go to this quiet space inside. And I think in China the same. It is, I think it's very similar, to find the inner peace in the belly, and then, like through qigong practices and these midline practices, and to breathe regularly, to really regulate. And I think one of these few cultures, very ancient cultures, who really preserved it, and they were touching this safe space inside of us, not trying to look from outside, and which I think when it comes to trauma work now, we are looking for that from the outside. We reach out for therapies or for someone safe and who could listen to us and really suit us, and it is so important, right? To meet someone like that, or community, and it's just super important. But it doesn't end there. And I think the martial arts could do that, but there's so much confusion in martial arts. I think there is, what is it for, what we should do with that, and is it for, fighting, hitting? But it can be, it's out of confusion. But I think in recent years, it goes more to somatic movement, like with Paul Linden and Richard Sims and all these people working with maybe with Aikido or different styles, or ninjutsu, or I don't know what they did in the past, but I think they are working with deep sense of their body, like felt sense, maybe.
Yes,
they were
of course.
Working with felt sense with interaction, not only with my own practice, but with interactive practice. And I really feel there is so much potential in this one, that the opportunity to feel safe and co-regulate and find really deep safe space inside of us.
Yes, I think this ancient, this old. The thing is, like, the basis of Taoism, and all this energetic practice comes from a culture that's so old, and they have really understood this principle of the yin and yang, and their whole understanding of the body is not limited to, in the West we are really much like, okay, this is that, so we have to measure, and we have to go through here and dissect and everything to kind of identify and spread everything. We differentiate. The mind we have is very much analytic, so that's and they have a different mind, they have a different history, and it's on the world it's different places, but they have this huge understanding of actually how this polarity works, and all their knowledge and how they build these different techniques and martial art or health exercise. They're all based on that, so it's a huge resource, and that really also shows that we have inside of us inner resources, and those inner resources, when we get conscious about it, we can start to work with them, and we can start also, and one of the resources we have is, like, relationship is also a resource when it's well aligned, well used.
Well used, definitely. Well used relationship can be very co-regulating system, and
it is part of the co-regulation, absolutely.
this is what I like about interaction, and I find it with like many people talk about this co-regulation in therapy of couples. You know, when man and woman, or male, woman, doesn't matter, but in the couple, when they go out of the balance, when they go out of the attunement with each other, and they don't feel connected anymore, and they feel irritated, and there is strong sense of disconnection, to really work with the body, but a very simple way to find the rhythm of the breath. Just very like basic stuff. Everybody can do that. We don't need to go so deep. Just connect to breath of each other, and to maybe to be guided by your. If I connect to you, be guided to your own speed of the breath, tempo of the breath, and then maybe something will change, and then maybe if we move together a little bit, like in qigong, like little by a little, like in tai chi, or maybe like in dance, like tango, anything, it could bring us more coherency. But we just need to do this. It's so simple and so difficult sometimes. Just to do that, to really have this basic practice when we feel disconnected, when we feel I don't want to do this. You know, I feel avoidant of that situation, and I don't want to get closer. But still, again, just do that. I think is it so applicable for society, you know?
Yeah, but you know, this is really it's very related to a particular culture. You know, in Japan, you don't relate body to body in the same way that in America, or in France, or in Italy, or in Spain, or in Africa, or you know, it's like really the way we relate. But then we also have how we learn relationship, and we learn relationship from when we are born, after birth. You know, the early years are all about learning how to be present here in this world, and that's where we learn relationship. And the primary learning is with our parents and grandparents, or you know, the surrounding, right? Whoever is around us, the adult world. And that's how we're going to learn that, and that's when we're going to learn regulation, self-regulation. How do I regulate myself? Co-regulation, how I regulate myself with the need, with the interaction with another person, and that happened there at this time. But we have a very poor so far culture of that, and we have a lot of science and research, and you know, many case study, and you know, we have a lot of knowledge on that level, but if it's not in the therapy world, which means you know, you go to see your therapist, and who is trained to understand that, it's not really part of you know, like when you're a parent, you don't get a manual telling you about all that. You have to do it yourself.
Right.
You know, you have to you have to look for those things. It's not part, you know, like sometimes I'm really wondering, like, because it's so important. It's just it's the basis of and of course in old tradition, in usually native tradition, they have lots of games, a lot of stories, lots of songs, lots of rituals, many things around that. You know, and lots of very practical things, like, you know, how they organize the household, how they live together. It's all organized around that. And it is what it is. It's all different, but it has this component. And for us, I think we are so confused because we have many ideas, and some people have many, you know, like positive parenting, for instance, which is one thing that, you know, sometimes really goes into something very absurd in a way. And I mean, and but you know, we have different views, and somehow this brings a lot of confusion. And sometimes I feel like working with children, and you know, in this kind of at this age, I feel like a basic understanding is so important. And when I'm there, I can see that this basic understanding is not really there. It's not really, you know, people really don't exactly know. They have a sense of it, but they don't exactly know the mechanism that are very
Yeah.
physiological. It's not
Yeah.
it's not in our mind. It's not a belief system. It's our physiology.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that was your motivation to write a new book.
That was the motivation to absolutely create something that very practical and very immediate, very like
Yeah.
you don't need to read and go into something
Yeah.
intellectual. You really, because it's not intellectual, you
Yeah.
need to understand it, but it's there, it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
in the relationship.
Yeah.
And to understand all the mechanism, it doesn't take really long. But what I feel that is happening when we are now, we are, with this book, we are um, starting to work with it and to work in different contexts.
Yeah.
And sometimes what happens with adults is that it brings them back into something that's really not pleasant.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And that's the challenge. The challenge is like, do I want to go there,
Yeah.
or do I prefer
Yeah.
to status quo? Do I prefer to stay where I am because I'm actually not ready to go into my own history?
Yeah.
Because it comes back to this: when you're an adult, you already have it.
Yeah.
It's gone, it's done. It's
Yeah.
With a child, it's on its way to be done.
Yeah.
So that's where we can really change our ways of doing and our habits, and or be more conscious, just be more aware.
Yeah.
But when we're an adult, we meet that, and that's not sometimes so easy.
Yeah. So let's pause, and I will show you the book. Maybe. Is recording good? Still. So this is the book, new book. Can you say the name of it?
La boîte à tutti. Yeah, it's actually the name of the book is called Éclosion. Éclosion, it means like it's when you have when a bird goes out of the egg.
Yeah.
It burst up. I don't know, and that's the kind of the name of the book. Like when you when you go out of the egg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. So you say there is a lot about kids, right? But about us also, about our memories, maybe. Maybe you mentioned before developmental movements. Maybe something that we all went through that, and there are memories. And when we do certain somatic movement practices, we can reach certain places and levels we don't feel very comfortable about, right? That we can see there is something triggering us or making us sad or disconnected. Could you tell more what it is?
But to come back to what we say in the beginning, we are movement, and we are shaped by movement.
Yeah.
Movement is literally shaping us,
yeah.
and is shaping not only our physical body, it's shaping the way we feel, the way we will start to experience emotion, and also the way we're gonna we think, and also the way we interact. So from the moment, in the embryo, in the very first moment of even before being an embryo, when it just exhales, it's just cellular something. That's the first body we have, and that body is still here. It's not gone. It's a memory, and so we have moved through many forms, many shapes until we are an adult. And all the movement that are succeeding, the adjustment of all these movement are creating everything we need to evolve, not to just stay there, to evolve as a human being process. And the thing is, like, it seems like we are really resistant to movement in our culture, because the first thing that happens when a baby is born, of course, it wants to. Well, at first, it will need to. The first thing the baby needs to do is to feel where it lands, what we call the embodiment. The first few months, because inside the belly, the baby moves. Actually, it has movement. It has this reaching, pulling, and all kind of.
You had this beautiful posture, right? I will just show it. Like it is in the book, if you want to. It is in the book, out of different phases.
Exactly. Yes. And so, but when we are born, we are not, the nervous system needs to wait to mature for a few months. And what it needs, for me, my understanding, my sense is just me thinking that. I mean, probably other people, but is that we really need to feel gravity.
Yeah.
And that takes months. It doesn't. It doesn't happen in a. So there is this embodiment, feeling gravity landing into our body when after we are born, being in this planetary process that's working in gravity and not in water.
Yeah.
Takes months, and then from there we'll start to have the first push, and that's called the yield. BMC, Bonnie Benrich Cohen called it yield.
Yeah.
Yielding meanings like connecting. It's like really like a Bluetooth kind of thing. It needs to connect to find the right connection with gravity to calibrate.
Yeah, right.
And then from there, it will start to find the push, and then movement will start to emerge from it. But what happened with a child is like very soon we will just kind of block this movement because the way of course for safety, for many reasons we will do that. So we have to guide that. We have to guide all the developmental movement. We have to watch for it and make sure that the program, it's a program. So it's a typical program. Sometimes they are atypical development. That's also what was very interesting in this in the process of this book. Like we stayed for 2 years in a creche who had a third of their child with special needs or handicaps, disabilities.
Yeah.
And so of course atypical movement is something that is even more important to to bring those primary and it comes through in the beginning. It comes through reflexes. Yeah. It's just an automatic reflexes. Yeah. And then this reflex becomes more like integrated movement. And that's where we have this primary choreography that create the old vocabulary for a future interaction, and how it's gonna create the context. It's going to create the context from which we will experience the world of space, time, adjustment, just so in midline, and then we have side, front, we have periphery, center, all these different things that makes us able to locate ourselves in relationship to someone. Like I'm not there, I'm there, but I'm in a relationship, I'm not cut, all those different representation, they happen at this time. The foundation. And then when we start to learn language and start to put words on that, it creates, and we start to get more here in the head. And when we are an adult, we have lost mainly everything that was from this realm of experience. We're just here. And we don't really know. That's what somatic movement, I think, does, or somatic in general. It's like to connect, like a Bluetooth connection, from here to the full soma, to the full body.
Yes. What can happen if we go with somatic movement, exploration of developmental movements? What can happen if you can give me certain examples, like what I can perceive, what can happen to me when I go to workshop, why I shouldn't go there? Because some people can be afraid of feeling the body. It's because we don't breathe to avoid the feelings, right? Like we breathe. Yes. We start to feel, but when we again move, we judge the movements because we are not so used to explore this movement, because there's so much questions. What I'm doing, how does it look like? What do you think of me when I move? And what is it for? It doesn't make sense. Where it is going, and all this stuff, and it doesn't make sense to people at all. But another layer is emotional layer.
Yeah,
that
totally.
How something can open even everything is emotional. Even when I think what you think of me, it's emotional. But if I go deeper and deeper, it can go even to deeper emotions, like
Yes.
the very basic primal emotions, right?
Yeah.
Could you give us some example from your own practice, or I don't know, tell us more?
Well, as you exactly mentioned, like, you know, all these developmental movement, all these stages are happening with an emotional, with emotions around them.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like there is a moment where after I've been able to push myself, I will want to reach, to grab something.
Yeah.
And if someone in my surrounding always kind of went like that, I want to reach, but then no.
Like you want to
And
touch
no.
something, like explore as a kid,
Yes.
like you want to touch
Yes.
The bench or tree or a cat. Or
Yes. I cannot, you know, and then everything, all my attempt to reach outside of my center of me are kind of blocked by something. Then there will be, of course, my the emotional state for discovery is an emotional state of curiosity.
Yeah.
Although curiosity may not be an emotion, but there is a sense of excitement, probably a sense of reward. I'm going to get something that I want, a need maybe. And you know, we talked about need yesterday, but that's very much part. Like, I need to have that, to touch this thing, or to touch this color, or
to have this experience.
Yeah,
when I'm
to have
new
this
in this
experience.
world, to have this experience.
Exactly. And if I was, you know, if I was blocked, or I had a no all the time there, something will start to emerge, like maybe frustration, maybe anger, maybe something, and that becomes an emotional field that is associated with that.
Yeah.
And most probably, if this becomes a pattern, then I'll stop reaching out, because I know that that's how we are built on, you know, on the memory of what we experience. And so at some point I stop to reach.
Yeah.
And then I'm just in the yielding, which is a very safe place, but that can become also a paralyzed place.
Yeah.
And I can push maybe, but I cannot reach. So there is something very incomplete in this cycle of reaching, grasping, and pulling, and letting go, and yielding again. It's a very simple movement that comes from the center, reaches out, find its nourishment, find something, bring it back. Like for me, like the bring it back was a very hard one. I'm just there, but I stay there. So to bring it back, because I come back to my body, coming back to embodiment. If I'm there all the time, it's a huge body, but it may not be
very cosmic.
Exactly. It may not be like a really grounded body. So I need to go back here, and I need to let go. That's one of the things that, you know, in BMC there is this different movement. I'm not aware of this letting go, but for me, I've seen that so much. Like some kids, like not able to let go, or some adult grasping something and putting it back, and just they are there their whole life. They can't let go.
Yeah.
So letting go into yielding again, no attachment.
Yeah.
You know, that's the phase of the developmental phase that I think is very important as well to bring into the equation.
Yeah. So many spiritual traditions are all about this, no? Letting go, and not just letting go mentally, but what I experienced, like through studying different styles of martial arts, like being curious about certain principles. I met very interesting teacher, Alexander Soloviev, and he was not really therapist or healer. He was fighter. He was coming from army and police and stuff. But it was the most gentle technique I ever experienced in my body. It was just so soft, so precise. He could be brutal. He could like a very brutal man. Like man, he's warrior, he's policeman, he's pushing. But the opposite side was very gentle biomechanic, but also energetic presence, certain presence, certain calmness, and it was really about letting go physically when we are standing, not lying down, standing and interacting. It's the most difficult thing I ever experienced, to do it through my not only arms but legs, pelvis and legs. And it was just so difficult for all of us, but beautiful, but very, very beautiful. And it was really about not to be attached, not to be holding so much. And I think Bruno Caverna, he did a lot of great work to spread it to the field of dancers more, or maybe therapies. And many people started to be more curious about this principle because they wouldn't go to Systema workshop because it's quite strong. Just to look at it, like what I don't want to do this. This is just too active, too sharp, to martial art, to fighting for many people. But Bruno did a great job to introduce this principle to the dancers in the soft way, and I think he's still developing this gravitational field principle teachings he does in, I think, in Barcelona. I'm very interested in what is happening there, because I'm not really the technique guy, like, or method. I'm following certain method or person, and I'm always looking for principles. What is behind it? Like, if it is Alexander Solovev, why he does it? Maybe he's fighter, he's policeman, or he's army guy. He does it for different reasons than in body mind centering or continuum movement, but it's similar principles, because there is not much options. There is gravity, and there is just different relating and the purpose of the practice. But for me, it was very interesting to reach and let go. This kind of recycling, again, they call it recycling. Always recycling. Don't get too stuck, or don't hold too much. Don't hold so much resistance. Sometimes Bruno called it resistance. In Russia, they called it in different way. But not only resistance, but collapse. The opposite way. Like we resist or collapse. Resist or collapse. For me, my pattern is collapse a lot. Like I'm a resistant. Also, one part of my personality is super resistant in certain ways. But I would say, if somebody offers some movement, I'm open. Maybe too open to go and open, and then it hurts, and then and I need to be more careful. But when it goes a bit too fast, if you take me to certain movements and it's too fast, too sharp, too fast in time and space, and I shut down, and I go and dissociate, and I don't feel, and I don't know where I am in the space and time. And this is my pattern. I'm trying to develop. I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to repattern to don't collapse. But it's just I'm patient, and I don't know if I can change it this lifetime. I see this is strong. It's if I hold it for 40 years, I cannot do it in 2 years to change it. Maybe, I don't know, just so quickly. But I think it's wonderful to just be in contact with these patterns, just to know where I hold, where I collapse, where I'm good at. This is my talent, to be in times and space. I'm not bad in it. And to see good things about me, but also the challenges about me. And I didn't know all developmental patterns before, but I'm very interested, and I'm super happy that you really, with your colleagues, created this book. That it's bringing some kind of easy guidelines, I believe, for parents and for teachers, for all of us. So I was super excited when you gave me this book yesterday. It's one of the most beautiful gifts I ever received, because for some strange reason I really liked it. You made it, because it's kind of my dream also, maybe to bring it more to schools, more to kindergartens, more to families. It doesn't have to be domain of martial arts or dance studios or spirituality kind of circles, and coaching and self-development. It's so natural.
It's the basic of human foundation, I would say.
Yeah. And this is what I love. Do you really bring it to the people? Basic human foundation. What do you expect? Do you have some expectation? What will be the next with this book and with your work, with all these movements, or maybe guidelines? What we can do with the music, right?
Yeah, there are some,
strange, but
there
I
are
see.
some music in it. Yeah, there are some recording of music in it, and there are some videos of commented video of situation of working, for professionals working with young infant or adult, to help, because sometimes it's easier to see something, to see it on a visual thing. So that's why we have it,
Yeah.
the drawing, but also we record it to be able to sometimes see a clear example of something, of what we are speaking about, because it's all, we are not so used to read the language of the body. We are not so used for that. So sometimes it's very important to just show it and make it clear.
Yeah.
But
So I'll just show this very simple paintings. I really like it, that these basic kind of lines and body centers, and I like this one especially also, dad with a daughter or son, and especially
that's
because
the whole
my
work
father.
of Camille Ulrich. Camille Ulrich is she's an illustrator, and she's done a wonderful job at translating something that's very sensorial and that's very like something inner into something graphic.
A simple graphic. If I do it, I would go for 3D animation with super high, go into perfection to some kind of sci-fi movie or something. But this is just perfect. It's just because it's simple. It's simple lines, simple like drumming, kind of, working together and seeing this spirals.
I mean, there was something I wanted to actually speak about when you mentioned, like your own pattern. I think there's something also important to consider is rhythm. The inner rhythm of, the rhythm pattern that we hold, and they are very specific to our own system, physiological system. So what I mean by rhythm and pattern, the rhythmical pattern, it's digestion, is breath, is all these different, the way we integrate things, the time we need for integration. So this kind of creates an ensemble of different rhythm. And sometimes, when you mention the way you collapse, it's because the rhythm of another person may not match with your own rhythm. And so I'm not sure we can change our inner rhythm, but we can learn about what they are and respect them. Sometimes it's just about respecting what we are, rather than, there are certain things, like if you have a certain type of body, I'm kind of long, I'm never gonna be, I can do, if I do some muscular something, I will need to take a lot of chemical something to get a bigger body. So there are certain things we can't really repattern in that way, but we can learn what are the specific what is the specific context of that particular body, the specific rhythm, and work with them. And that's where we can actually, that I think the expansion comes when we understand how we evolve, rather than having an external ideal kind of something and thinking like, this is the ideal things. No, some people will be really fast, but will be terrible at maintaining something, so I think there is something sometime in our culture that we tend to uniformize, I don't know if that's a real word, to make everything the same, to normalize. And actually the way the planet is rhythm, it's all rhythm, and we are rhythm as well, and we need to be attuned with each other, but with our different rhythm, and that's the hardest things.
Because I have tendency to be judgmental for myself then, right? If I'm done at you, if I collapse, I'm misaligned, I take it on myself. Like, is it something wrong with myself? Not with other person or others. It's me. I'm misaligned, and I should be maybe more connected or present or in the center or whatever, Which is good thing to optimize this optimization thing now. It's maybe too much, but But I'll be to bring myself to the balance, but not to some kind of perfection or to your. I want to be like Sylvan rhythm. He has got so beautiful rhythms in his body. I want this. It brings more judgmental pattern and again acting in, like being violent to myself again,
Totally.
again, right?
And it's a misalignment. It's like pretending something you're not.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is like your rhythm is your medicine,
Yeah.
and it's also the medicine for others.
All right. Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It just and when you know, if you speak about craniosacral therapy or different type of more subtle therapy that brings, because one of the things that happened and that's very clear on this planet right now, like the rhythm is off it for a long time.
Yeah.
And we have created that, you know, off balance.
Yeah.
So we need to recalibrate that. We need to re-understand what our own rhythm, and that's what we call medicine, because it has an impact. It's the rhythm is like sound. It's something that kind of it pulsates. It creates a basic pulsation. And if you look at all the life on the planet, it's a huge rhythmic, you know, activity.
Yeah.
And that is supposed to maintain homeostasis, balance.
Yeah.
And rhythm is a lot about oscillation, and rhythm is a lot about balance, and that's why it's medicine. The way we call it medicine, it's always going back to the center, always going back to a point of equilibrium.
Yeah.
And of course we need, you know, equilibrium is dynamic, it's not static, so it's evolving.
Yeah.
But there is a source of it, and the source is the source.
Source of equilibrium. How you could explain that? Source of equilibrium. There is certain source.
It comes to homeostasis. You know, homeostasis is I think I would say the first principle on the earth.
Yeah.
For life.
Yeah.
It's if there is no homeostasis, there's not. It doesn't stay. So homeostasis has a component of balance and stability.
Yeah. It's going out of the balance for evolution.
Balance is dynamic. Balance is always dynamic, and stability.
It's not like balance is not just like holding the balance like this, right?
No.
Balance is more active.
But stability is also that it needs to stay.
Yeah.
You know, it's evolving, but it cannot. It's time. You know, stability. It's bringing a container that holds something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the reality would not stay. We wouldn't be able to live in a reality. The reality would collapse.
Yeah.
The world will collapse. You know. So stability is the kind of. It's very interesting. I think those principles of you know, balance and stability, because often, you know, we have this 0 point kind of reference. Now we know the 0 point, which is the center of something where nothing really happened, but it's the source of everything. But there is no dynamic movement. It's just a total stillness.
Yeah.
It's a point of stillness. So I think this balance and stability comes from, you know, some expression of this 0 point, in a way that they hold a field that just is stable enough so it doesn't collapse. But it has also a dynamic
aspect of it, right?
Aspect to it, so it's moving.
You know, I'm observing this one and studying that a lot and teaching that a lot because I had tried that principle. But what I realized that how huge patterns in terms of teaching stability in movement, to stand on the 2 feet or one, like in yoga, or I don't know. Mainly in yoga there is this stability, and you hold the hands and focus and you don't move. You're trying to balance, you don't move. But also in sometimes statues, people who are studying Chinese martial arts, they stand and they don't move, and they believe they don't move. And the rule is at still point. I'm at a still point for 20 years. I practice this one, and they just don't realize that there is a movement. And they really believe that, like it is true. I feel it. They just didn't realize that for 20 or even worse for 14 years, and they will hold to this pattern. And what I liked about Alexander Solovey's work, that his basic principle is standing on the 2 feet, standing posture, and to feel this fractality of that movement. And it's not his principle, it's in, I think, in system and in different martial arts and dances, and just to feel the standing position, trying not to move, but still feeling this movement. And I found the guys they called 8 O's. One is from Moscow, one is from Paris, and they practice together, and they put it to the computers. They put it to the computers. They had these little points and diodes. I don't know how does it call it. They connected to the computers, and they really mapped that movement. And sometimes it's more liquid, and sometimes it's like sharp. So when I'm standing, sometimes I do sharp, but sometimes I do more liquid. If I know how to use my body. If I don't know how to use my body and I'm thinking too much, it's more sharp, it's more staccato. When I practice more relaxation and yielding and connecting to the earth, switching on my Bluetooth a little bit more, it goes more smooth and it goes more to fractality, and they call it fractality. And I like the research behind it. And when I read the study, I cannot read it. It's just like very, very scientific language. But I like it because they put it to the paper sheet, that is little movement. And they talk about movement psychology, somatic maybe psychology. They don't call it somatic psychology, but psychology behind the movement and the state of our consciousness and the mind, how we can monitor through the computers now and to see, this is my inner state. It's not bad, it's not wrong, it's just rhythm, but we can a bit separate ourselves to relax and connect to this midline and see there is certain still point, maybe is more in our consciousness than in the body. Then we follow that wave and we float on the ocean of this reality. And this is the principle of the system to work with this ocean through the pelvis, and as you walk or as you fight, as you protect or fight, whatever, but you are trying to sustain it in each situation, even if it's super stressful because somebody is going to kill you, so it's stressful. So you are trying to maintain the inner calmness of the inner landscape, inner ocean, and I really like it. I really like that. It can be also monitored. And this is what I wanted to say. This point and a wave in our body is also in the physics, right? It's similar, like one pointed, there's one point, particle, and the movement, wave. That is basics in everything. Attunement. I really like this picture. This mother and child and a little nervous system and bigger nervous system holding each other, like trying to attune. Maybe. Is it
totally.
And the whole chapter about the touch, and if I can call my training, I do 2 years training now, and if I can name it, I can name it, but I would, if I don't know, call it differently, I would call it like the school of the touch. So I'm very like into the touch, because I think it's a basic principle. Touch is basic relationship with the air, with the sun, with everything. We are touch. I think we don't do touch. We are touch. This is kind of thing, and we are touch. We are this kind of being, and I really like this picture, because I think this kind of attunement, and I like also the energetic field, kind of see the blue and red around there and connect that. This is the connection I know from Shiatsu, craniosacral, or Systema, or Tai Chi. I like this picture. Very simple one. But they don't do craniosacral, they don't do Shiatsu, they don't do Systema. They are just together, right? And it's so basic. and we don't teach this one in school. We don't teach it. We don't teach it to kids. We don't teach it to parents. And I like
I think we recognize it sometimes, but we have no word. We have not really a language for it.
Yeah.
That's why, coming back to this very first conversation, like what language do we develop, or do we create, or do we precise? Because there is so little language to be able to to describe, or to just describe this experience of belonging. Like, how do you belong? You feel like you belong. It's such an important thing right now, like belonging to something, to communities, or to belonging to oneself, belonging to the planet, to a country, I don't know, to a and that's, belonging. You could say belonging is that I'm me, but I belong, and I'm part of a bigger picture. So
yeah, I think belonging is basic, and I heard a nice quote, nice sentence. It is like the plants, like flowers and trees, they turn their leaves or heads toward the sun.
Yeah.
So human beings turn to belonging.
Yes.
This is kind of like the sun is food, basic food for plants, and for us it's belonging. It's so important for our nervous system, for our physiology, for our who we are, to belong somewhere. And it is so strong. It's changing rapidly with the technologies and everything. A lot. And what I realized through interactions and through Bruno Caverna, what he does through formal arts or play fight, doesn't matter, craniosacral therapy, touch, when we touch, or jiu-jitsu, or tango, doesn't matter. Why we feel better many times? What is it? It is because of the technique, because the technique is very special, it's very unique. Some people call it unique. This is really, I invented this technique. This is really unique, and can you feel that the spiritual realms of that? And I don't take this bullshit many times, because it's not so spiritual. It's more hormonal.
It's physiological.
It's more hormonal than spiritual for me at this point. But when we connect in this way, listening this way, something is activated inside of us, and I think is belonging.
Yeah.
And it's basic, and it's simple, and we don't need to bring it to spiritual realms or anything. It's just so simple and basic, and we something misuse it for another spiritual kind of levels. We personally would love to go with people or something, but I think it's not needed. It's not needed.
Well, I think sometimes the first things to see is like it's nothing to buy. Sometimes the humans, especially now, tend to make everything like a product that you can buy and possess.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous in a way. That's just the culture where we live in, where we think we have to do that. Oxytocin is just the hormone you have, everybody has it. So it's just like understanding what we are and what we. That's when it comes to responsibility. We had this conversation, like responsibility is not a small thing. It's a thing that you take for yourself. And if you think like you need to sell everything you are or that you're doing, you're not taking responsibility for anything. You're just finding excuses to do something that makes you feel better.
Yeah.
That's not taking responsibility. Responsibility is something that's much deeper, and I think speaking about grounding yourself in this reality, it's the biggest weight of being here, being responsible. For whatever you do, for whatever you, and of course we make mistakes, we fuck it up, and that's part of the game.
Yeah.
But there is it's just like to it's a kind of a clarity. It's a kind of clarity of self-awareness, I would say.
Yeah. Clarity of self-awareness. Yeah. Is it masculine or feminine principle? If you go to polarities, what is it? What is it? Clarity of self-awareness. Clarity. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when it comes to these polarities, it's like, what do you feel it is like? Does it feel like more like, and it's very problematic to have these words like masculine and feminine, and because and at the same time, it's revealing something very important, which is the relationship and the nature of a man and a woman.
Yeah.
is 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 a reflection of those principles.
Yeah.
It's an extension, it's an expression, it's and yeah. So I think what's interesting is when it comes to this is just to realize, like, okay, like for me that would be maybe a masculine principle, just clarity of something, and where do I find that in me as a man, for instance?
Yeah.
And if I would be a woman, where do I find that in me as a woman?
Yeah, exactly.
And how does it support the other side of my polarity? Which is, if I'm very clear in this, how can I let go, and how can I trust, for instance? How can I trust that this is a clear self-awareness, and then I trust myself, and that's the trust is more maybe the feminine.
It's paradox of the practice, right? And it's nothing to do with like man and woman. It's really like just principle of the state of consciousness or state of being, and we all need some of it. Something we need
all of it.
More clarity, and I know some people fight letting go. Letting go is just so esoteric or bullshit, or I cannot let go. I need to take care of family. I need to take care of business, everything, and I cannot let it go.
Yes.
Or some people then, clarity. I don't like clarity. It's so ego mania.
Exactly.
They really resist clarity because they have got some kind of feeling about that. It's too controlling. Like my father was so controlling, or my boyfriend was so controlling. All men are so controlling, and they resist each other, right? These principles of people, they resist practices which you bring more clarity or letting go.
But you see how they, it's exactly when you have two polarities that are in their opposite polarity, I would say, then because they support each other, you can let go only when you have trust. Otherwise, you need to control, and you need to control. If you're not trusting, you need to control. Otherwise, you're gone the plane. You don't stay here.
Yeah.
So that's and when you just stay there in these kind of polarized things, it can't move, because you need to have both of those things in synergy, in movement, so they can complete them their specific. They need each other.
Yeah.
So and it's not about a man and a woman that need each other. We need each other to. I mean, we need two physiological bodies to create a child. So far, we can also do it just on the cellular level. That doesn't need a body, but needs the cells. But I think the learning there, it's not so much about the body or it's very much about the principle.
Yeah.
Really understanding what they are, and stopping to just look at me, my perspective. Because that's you cannot go anywhere from there. You or you go into victimhood, or you go into prosecution mode, or you go into guilt, or you go into this, or you go into that, and that's just turning around.
So it would be nice to experience all of it, right? To be victim sometimes, and to enjoy my victimhood, and to be more prosecuted in prosecutor mode. Sometimes
Well,
I need to hunt, no, or something. No?
Yeah, but I think it's all about context. It's just to relook at the context where we live in now, and what are we? We are shading skin. In continuum, all the work we do is to shade skins. There is a past. The past is carried with us to a certain degree, and we need to shade things. So we need it's a constant, like it's a very it's a, like the human life, process is a like alchemical process of shading and creating new possibilities and shading. So you begin to make space to and it needs to evolve. It needs to move into a potentiality. So right now we're on the edge of really shading the skin to become different, to become different. So that's why also I really feel like all these what you mentioned with martial art, for instance. I think martial art is very much a developmental stage as well. But the thing with war or just a form of war, it's not the end of it. It's like we can move beyond war, and it doesn't mean that we go in peace where everything is like it's all love and whatever. It's not that. It's just going to be on a different level. The movement will be different, but it doesn't have to be war. It just needs to be a way to stabilize and harmonize or balance in a different way. But that probably will require more skills than war.
Maybe it can be just a little bit of expansion and push, or it can be different. And
well,
if I'm dreaming, like what it could be like in the far future.
Something for me very simple. Like if I look a little bit ahead, how do I start to engage into the reality of the earth? Not on my country, not myself and my family. The reality of the earth, which is we are moving toward that. Then what do I need to develop as skills to be able to do that? In terms of technology, in terms of creating a reality here. So what I will need in terms of my potential will of course mobilize the masculine and the feminine, will mobilize balance and stability, will mobilize letting go and really grasping things, If you look at this planet in the whole universe, maybe we need to defend ourselves. But maybe not in the way we think right now. Maybe it's a different way. But it's the same principle. So what I mean is like sometimes we need to also open up the way we look at what already happened, to move out of what already happened, because otherwise we're just recycling the same thing over and over, and nothing is really, at some point we need to that's what's everyone many oracles or people opening up the sense of time or space are speaking about this shift, and we can all feel there is a it's always changing, but right now there is a particular moving into another age. That's also where we really need to let go of certain things to open up to other possibilities that probably will use the same principle and bring more principles, because it goes towards more complexity. It doesn't go towards more simplicity. And bring it to another level. So we'll see.
We will see. Things are changing, right? With AI and with computers. Something is changing, something is shifting strongly.
I think that's going to be really interesting to, how do you, as an organism that use all these, that is movement, and where movement is a basic foundation for being informed first, and then being an emotional being, like electric being a mental being, a thinking being, a creative being, being a spiritual being, and how are we going to relate to AI, which is a very different form, because it doesn't have any form. It's just a type of of expression of probably a very, very, very pure mind. It's pure mind, basically.
Yeah.
So how are we going to relate to that?
Through our bodies.
To everything we are. I think we can, like I can see how relate on the mind level to that. I think very clearly that we come from the same mind, but it's a very different way to, we're not gonna. How do you push? How do you pull? How do you, reach? How do you let go? How do you yield? How do you all those things? Anyway.
So let's see. Let's see.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you, Martin.
Yeah.
For this ongoing research that your curiosity of things.
Always.
Yeah.
Always curious. And if you are curious, look this one up. It is only in French now. It will be in English maybe soon.
Most probably, we're gonna be published like it's a process. It takes time to make a project like that because there's so many things. But it's there is probably a future for this book. Yeah.
So hopefully I will ask my friend Karel Sloboda or others. He has got a publisher. He's publisher of books and he's translating things. So hopefully maybe it will be in Czech language or Slovak language. In 1 year. I will call him today. Okay, so thank you everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice.
Good.